What up, and welcome back to the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. I'm your host, Jayson Gaddis. Great to be here with you. Good to have you back, and welcome if you're new. This podcast is about monogamy. It's about long-term relationship. It's about marriage and partnership over many, many years, decades, okay? And how to do it well. It's about busting all the myths and fantasies and bullshit that's sold to you about what partnership is and what long-term relationship is, and instead offering you concrete map, tools, and tips and guidance on how to navigate this stuff, especially if you want to continue to do long-term relationship and you want to thrive and you don't want to just kind of grin and bear it, right? Thanks for all your feedback. We got a lot of feedback when we asked for feedback in the last episode. Thank you. I'm listening, we're listening, and you'll see some tweaks coming up. One thing in particular I really loved, which was interview more couples on their journey. So that is on my radar. And if you are a couple out there and you want to apply to be interviewed and coached by me on the Smart Couple Podcast, and you want some tips and guidance, and you want to tell your story as a couple because you've overcome some things, this podcast has been helpful perhaps, please send us an email. Please apply. All right. We will send you the application once you email us. All right. Okay. In this episode, I am not interviewing Dan Savage, but I am playing 3 minutes of a Dan Savage talk. Who's Dan Savage? He's like the most popular radio show guy on relationships. He's a gay guy. He's been married 25 years or so. He's got a kid, I think, maybe 2. And I think his stuff, for the most part, really kicks ass. And he's hilarious. He's raunchy. He's intense. He tells it like it is. And one day he's going to be on this podcast, okay? But I saw one of my students, Olya, forwarded me this talk by him, and I just wanted to play it and then make my comments because I have some opinions about it. So here goes Dan Savage on monogamy, and notice what comes up for you when he says what he says about us folks that are into monogamy.
Every monogamous relationship is a disaster waiting to happen. If you are with someone for 50 or 60 years and you cheated on them one time, you are terrible at monogamy. It's an impossible standard of perfection, and it's why we all fail at it. Those who attempt it almost all fail at it. And we tell people, and people believe, that if someone touches someone else, someone who's committed to you, made a monogamous commitment to you, touches someone else with their genitals, even once, they didn't love you. They never loved you. That your entire relationship was a lie, and the only corrective is divorce. You must leave that person. We define it as an unforgivable betrayal, and then we experience it as an unforgivable betrayal. And we sit around with our thumbs in our asses wondering why the divorce rate is as high as it is. When what we should be telling people is that you will grow up, you will fall in love, perhaps if monogamy is right for you or what you think you want, and a lot of people think they want it and actually don't. You will make a monogamous commitment, and asterisk, that doesn't mean because you're in love you're not going to want to fuck other people. You're still going to want to fuck other people, so is your spouse. What monogamy means is you will refrain from fucking other people. Hopefully. And if you make it through 50 years and they cheated once or twice and you cheated once or twice, you were good at you get a monogamy gold medal like the snowboarder who fell down that day. You should have a monogamy gold medal around your neck, not a noose around your neck. I've been with my husband for 23-ish, 4-ish years, I can't remember. It's been a long time. And for 18 of the last years, we have been non-monogamous. I have had conversations with people in monogamous who are appalled by the fact that we're public about it, that I've talked about it, the fact that we're parents and we've talked about it publicly. And this is how these conversations have gone. I've had people look at me and say to me, I could never do what you and Terry have done because I value commitment and loyalty too highly. And I look at them like, I don't say anything, but I'm thinking, you don't think I want what? And the next thing out of the motherfucker's mouth is, all 3 of my marriages have been monogamous. And I'm like, oh, what you're committed to and loyal to is monogamy. Not these assholes you keep marrying and divorcing, but monogamy. we are committed and loyal to monogamy to such an extent that we are not committed and disloyal to the people we've married.
There we have it. Dan Savage from a Mind Valley talk he gave. Okay, we'll include that link in the show notes if you want to watch him on the video. Thanks, Olya, again, for sharing that. So what's he basically saying? So here's a non-monogamous gay guy basically saying monogamy is bullshit because every monogamous relationship is impossible. Here's his line.
Every monogamous relationship is a disaster waiting to happen.
Is a disaster waiting to happen. Now, I both agree with that and I disagree with that, okay? So I agree with that in that when people purchase a fantasy about monogamy, it's a disaster waiting to happen. When people learn how relationships work, particularly long-term relationships, and they understand monogamy on their own terms, monogamy is not a disaster waiting to happen. It's a vehicle for transformation and liberation. So I don't buy this simplistic notion that monogamy is bullshit, it's doomed. And I'm just going to push back here because I just don't agree. It's not my experience, okay? Granted, I'm only 10 years in. He's 24 years in. But he opened up his relationship 3 years in to his marriage. So monogamy is working for me deeply. It's changing my life. And one day, I don't know, maybe I'll disagree with myself, but right now, it's awesome. And it's confronting as hell. And it's uncomfortable a lot to love one person so fiercely and over and face myself all day long when I'm upset or when we're distant from each other, when we have challenges and I'm like, oh, I just want to like pull away and but to lean in instead. There's something really potent about that. And could I do that with another person in the mix in an open relationship? I'm guessing so, but it would be totally different. It'd be a completely different deal. The triggers would be different, and our communication would be different, and there'd be more, to me, it would be more complicated and more challenging in some ways. So you could say the same thing. Every polyamorous relationship is a disaster waiting to happen. So he's taking a side here. He's taking a stance. He's in an open poly relationship. Okay, cool. But to just say monogamy is a disaster and it's because people buy into the commitment to monogamy, not a commitment to a person. They're committing to a concept, which I'm kind of with him there, that when you commit yourself to a bullshit fantasy about marriage, you're doomed. So he's not saying that, but I'm reading that between the lines and I'm saying, I agree with you, Dan. But to just blanket it as monogamy, no, you're discounting all these intelligent people like Smart Couple podcast listeners who want to do monogamy well and they want to do it on their terms. And it's not that they're committed to this bullshit fantasy of what monogamy means to conservative people or religious people or narrow-minded people. It's you listeners, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, are saying, no, I want to learn how to love one person for as long as I can. And I want to see how that goes. And I want to learn about myself in the process. And you see the vehicle that monogamy provides for your personal transformation. And you see, wow, this is a really cool path for me, even though it's really steep and really hard at times. And you've let go of that fantasy that monogamy is going to save you somehow and it's supposed to be perfect and you're supposed to just stay together forever and be miserable. No, that you're smarter than that. So, yeah, Dan, I hope to have you on the podcast and we can talk this out. All right. So if anyone knows Dan Savage, I'd love to go back and forth here with him because I think we'd probably be more aligned than we're not in this moment. But I just wanted to push back here. Okay. So hopefully this has been helpful, guys, and we'll see you next time.